people be able to live in bigger spaces, in more comfortable real estate, with nature surroundings. So when you want to take a break during your day, you can go for a walk and you are in a big park or in a forest or something like that. And so I think that, yeah, this development of internet and the connecting cities will result in the capacity of living in in a better, I mean, let's say in something more, how to say, something that will be more comfortable somehow, less stressing. Yeah, something like that.
Christine here with another fun episode of the Coliving Code Show. Airs every Wednesday. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, ISL Furnishings. They're a brand created through inner space living, and they're all about creating exciting spaces where design meets function. They've actually done quarters in Star City. So they've definitely done some big communities, some awesome stuff. You could see the pictures on their website. Inner space parlayed its success in commercial grade unit furniture and conceived an elevated offering. And they strongly believe in the co-living industry, which is cool. And they were founded with the mission to bring your brand to life. Their goal is to revolutionize the unit furniture experience. And driven by creativity, ISL Furnishings believe that interiors should inspire brilliance. Every venue has its own voice. They exist to clarify that voice, interpret your brand vision, and deliver to quality on time, every time. And like I said, yes, they've done Star City and quarters, but they've also done smaller communities. They can do 10 beds and up. And you can definitely check them out at islfurnishings.com. Christine here with the Co-Living Code Show every single Wednesday. You could check us out on YouTube if you want to watch the interview, or Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes if you would like to listen to the podcast. So this is a special episode. We went right strictly into smart city discussion today with Julien. And he is with the Democracy Studio. He has a PhD, he's a big time researcher, and he's the project leader at the Democracy Studio. And he started his career as an independent real estate developer in the south of France from 2009 to 2017, where he also worked on developing urban innovation projects with a particular interest for the new business models and social innovation across cities. In 2018, he engaged in a doctorate degree in urban science, writing a thesis on stakeholder engagement in smart cities. Then he kept developing different prototypes on the side in order to deliver practical solutions for future city governance. So let's launch right into this week's episode. So bringing on Julien this week to the show to talk all about smart cities. He's a researcher, he has his PhD. So excited to do a whole episode on smart cities and civic tech. So welcome to the show this week.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
And he's got a beautiful French accent. So which city in the world are you in right now?
At the moment, I'm staying in Wageningen in Netherlands because I'm starting a partnership in an IT university. We are doing some artificial sociality experiments.
Ooh, is it secret, or can you elaborate on the experiments?
I can elaborate on it, no problem. I'm trying to observe. So what we are doing is agent-based modeling. And so basically, when you do social studies, you cannot bring all the people in a lab, right? So what we are doing is that we are recording some information about the people in real life, and then we create simulations of interaction between those people using some different softwares. And we call this agent-based modeling. Some years ago, it was called multi-agent systems. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, good. So you're always up to some fun stuff. So all our questions today, again, are more targeted towards smart cities. However, I do want to, I know that you've co-lived a bunch. So let's talk about the cities you've co-lived, your experiences.
Yes, sure. So I started my doctorate degree 2.5 years ago. I was already into startup developments before that. So I started by looking for a way to engage the citizen in decision making for the future of their cities. And since I was working at that moment in a real estate development company, my goal was to find a way to engage our future customers in co-designing with our architects what kind of buildings and what kind of lifestyle they wanted to have in new neighborhoods. So I went into the startup management models because it's more fun. You have more possibilities to play with different innovative business models, and so that was good for innovation. And then at the moment, I started to have a sort of seniority level on my topic, which is always how can we engage people in deciding the future of their cities. And so I was like, okay, you have a good ground experience, but maybe that will be interested now to add some more scientific validity to your hypothesis, to the things you have observed in reality. And then I also used this opportunity to travel abroad because I didn't want it to have a too much French focus understanding of this problem. And so the best opportunity I have found to merge all those goals was to start a PhD. So I joined university in Paris, and then I left France. In like a bit more than 2 years ago, and so I've been traveling in different cities in the world. And I have had this opportunity to live in different co-living experiences. I think that flat sharing is perfect. When you travel alone, even as a digital nomad, you always look for the best way to meet like-minded people. And so it's an easy way, co-living, to make friends, to understand better the city, to have some tips very soon, and never feel alone, even if you don't know no one in the city. So that was great. Yeah, very great experiments.
Nice. And then, so I know that cities is such like a broad term. So I'd love
Uh-huh.
for you to kind of distill it and what your definition of smart city is.
Exactly. Well, the definition of smart city is using data to improve the quality of living. Basically, that's it. And of course, it has many different ways to use this concept. For example, you can a lot of smart city developers are working on developing IoT and sensors on the infrastructure of a city. From my side, I focus on e-citizenship and on the collaborative decision making. And I'm observing how the people can take decisions collectively and lead the projects like that. So I am more observing the bottom-up processes to take decisions on future city. So
Nice.
somehow this is the link with the co-living. It's kind of the same. I like this idea on how people like met each other on a project and then spend some time together, develop solution or develop ideas of living, and then just move to other projects. But this is this kind of spontaneity of sharing some time and space with people that I like.
Nice. And then I would love to hear if you took a city and kind of was able to break it apart. I would love to use Paris as an example into separate sections. What would they be comprised of?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Like if you took Paris, for instance,
Yeah,
and you were able to, because it's such a big city and so much
yeah.
going on, if you could break it into different sections, like what would it be comprised of?
In terms of smart city, I guess the usual topics are energy,
Mhm.
because there is the energy consumption is really a hot topic since it's related to climate change, but also to the economy of the city. So we both want to use a clean energy, cleaner as possible, with the less impact on the nature. But at the same time, we also want to balance the economic expenses of the city. So yeah, usually the energy is a big topic on smart city. You also have the infrastructure side, so the buildings, but also the transportation, mobility is another big topic. What else? Then it depends. It depends about the tourists. It depends about the local government. Well, governance is also usually a topic. So the governance model, and so it can be more or less democratic, or it can be more top down or more bottom up, depending how much, depending about the law frame, and also depending the moment of the project. There are some moments where it's good to take contact with the people, so to catch some intellect in collective intelligence. And there are some moments where you want to, you know what you have to do, and so you just need to accelerate. And this is when you need, like, let's say, stronger leadership just to make the thing happen.
Definitely. And then do you see big tech companies, Google was having that project out in Toronto, which unfortunately they didn't
Yeah.
get approved.
Yeah.
Do you see any big tech companies trying to do that again to a city?
Yes, of course. I think that, yeah, Google, well, Toronto, of course, it has been a good experience. We were all waiting for that. Like, whoa, have you seen what they are doing in South? And it was the first time somehow that an high-tech company, especially from a web-based company, were in charge of developing a new big part of a city. Um, I think this tendency will keep going because they are these web companies are the ones who know, they have the data about the people, and they know what people like, they know how to connect the people together. So they are the perfect data owners and the perfect initiators of this new kind of thinking a city with a citizen-centric point of view. So the thing is, what I can observe from my participation and in hackathons or collaboration with different software developers, these IT guys have a very interesting mind in terms of mathematics and a very good computation understanding. But then, so all this is what we call hard skills and hard, let's say, science. But then when you go on the side of humanities and understanding social behaviors, organization, all what we call the soft science, or it goes with soft skills as well. It asks for more sensitivity on the reality. And so sometimes artists are just better than scientists to understand those kind of things. Yeah. So definitely, I'm sure that, yeah, the companies, the IT companies have a big role to play, but I think that to succeed, they will need to collaborate with some people that are more into the human science, human understanding, and yes, socialities, those kind of stuff. So if we want to succeed, like, this is what architecture has always been. It's something that it's a mix between art and politics somehow. Yeah. So because you need to materialize ideas of humans, of human living, but you still need to build it in a real way. It's a house or it's building. Yeah. So at a point it do not move anymore. So it needs rationality. So yeah, that's it. I think a city is a balance, and future urban development, we will need a good balance in between data, and human understanding. Yeah.
And do you think it'll be Google that tries to tackle that again, maybe a different city?
Why not? Why not? I've heard recently about another project. So I don't know exactly, is it Google or is it Facebook is also working on different projects, but you also have independent communities. I'm thinking now about the startup foundation startup, I don't remember their names, but you have independent groups or foundations of entrepreneurs that start to think about developing new cities from scratch. And this is typically something that will be empowered by the rise of blockchain technologies and bitcoins or cryptocurrencies. I'm thinking now about one rapper called Akon, which recently received an agreement from Portugal to build a new city based on cryptocurrencies in Dakar, close to Dakar. So this is typically the kind of projects that we will see now. It's not only Google, of course, Google is very big, but you will have independent entrepreneurs with a good understanding of startup ecosystems and crypto money and web communities that will try to develop new cities. And I think this has always been in the theory of city developments. Now, of course, it's empowered by the web, but this idea of settling a community of peers somewhere and being independent somehow, or even autonomous, an autonomous way of living with peers, is something that is probably at the roots of a city. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that might be a better idea is, create a new city. Then the people that move in kind of understand what's going on with data collection and the sensors and all that fun stuff. Maybe that's, I know that's why these projects are having a hard time, because the people are like, oh, I don't want all my data, collected, even though it's going to make their life so much easier in the long run. But I think with time, people are just going to kind of get used to that. Just with the internet, they love using a search engine. So of course they don't care that the data is being collected. They love social media. So I think it's just going to evolve to that point anyways. Kind of like, who would have gotten in a car with a stranger? Who would have let their teenager get in a car with a stranger? And then that was Uber. So it's just adoption rate.
This data privacy concern it seems to become a big issue in the oldest democracy. And so from my travelings, I have observed that it's not a real concern in everywhere in the world. And especially so the oldest democracies like USA, France, or Western Europe, to make it easy, Japan, those oldest democracy or earlier industrialized countries, they are now facing something that we call the post-democratic phase. So you have had a peak of democracy in the 70s, 80s, and from the 90s, with the liberalization of the economy, those democracy starts to face a new problem where the citizens do not trust anymore their governments and the medias. So we are facing in USA and Western Europe, we are facing this problem of citizens that do not really trust anymore in the democratic model and the representative democracy in particular. This is something that I didn't observe in my territories of investigation. So I chose 3 countries in the world. I was in Taiwan, in Israel, and in Estonia. And those 3 countries went to democracy in the early 90s. and had a really a strong economical growth, supported by the advent of technologies of communication and information. And so in those three countries, and it's interesting because they are very different cultural backgrounds, but for different reasons, they all agree, or there are not that much concern by the data privacy issue. Yeah. So I can go a bit more into caricatures, but yeah, if you want to understand each of these cultures and why do they agree on giving data, personal data to the government. In Asia, generally, but I will say that from Taiwan, there is a vibrant democracy, but they trust their government. The thing is that they consider, okay, we voted for these people. This guy is the new elected one. He's governing us. And so for simple reason of efficiency, they consider that he needs to have the possibility to make what is his plan. And so at the same time, people don't care so much about checking like every day what the government is doing. They decided, okay, this person have 4 or 5 years to govern the country. Let's him do it. It's a bit caricatural, but this is somehow, yeah, the result of my investigation. And then in Estonia, it's very different. People don't care about engaging in politics, because they consider that the government is typically the one that is the most incapacity to defend the interest of the citizens. So there is a very strong confidence between the citizens and the government. And there, when you are an elected representative in Estonia, it's not something like where you will make a lot of money. It's not something where you will last long in your career. It's more like in Nordic Europe, they have these electives that come to serve the country for 4 or 5 years. And so everyone knows that they do their best somehow, because they have nothing to do except the satisfaction, nothing to win, sorry, except that the satisfaction of having done a good work for the whole community. So they share the data very easily to the government because they have a strong trust in it. Yeah. So you see, it's not everywhere in the world, this privacy issue. I think that, of course, the citizens are being concerned about being tracked by the government, but I hope that we will soon find a way to maybe the citizen can host the property of their own datas and decide to which company's application or government they want to share it, because we need data to make a better city development, of course, but also to make a better living. We need to observe data. This is the only way to improve and make our model of living more efficient. So data are really important, and I hope that, like the countries where people are the more concerned by data privacy, I hope that they will not like lose too many ranks in the run for the future. Yeah.
No, and I'm so glad. That was my next question, is you talking about the 3 different countries that you're researching. And yeah, I've heard amazing things about Estonia. I haven't made it over there, unfortunately, yet. Tel Aviv, those are 2 areas that have such amazing business growth, technology growth. And so maybe that's going to be what's going to happen, right? Is that the rest of the world's going to start seeing these cities advance quicker because they're embracing the smart city technology, and then the rest will follow suit. So that's really great. Which city, out of curiosity, which city do you have the most fun out of the 3 researching?
To be honest, it's very hard to say. I enjoyed my stay in all those cities. it's all very different. So it was very enriching as a traveling. And also it's not tourism. If you stay 3-4 months in a city, you live with the people, you have your own habits like them, you start to cook their food, so everything, you live like a local. And this is what I liked in my travelings. I really cannot tell so far if there is one city I preferred on another. It was different experiences. I also realized that there is one point after 3 to 4 months, I'm always looking forward to move to another city. So I cannot tell neither if I would like to settle somewhere. I think I started digital nomadism 3 years ago. I've lived in 8 different cities so far. And yeah, it's really like, I don't want to stop it now. I like this lifestyle.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And so I know you mentioned mobility a little bit earlier. Like,
Mhm.
how would transportation and how would commuting change with the implementation of a smart city?
So there are two things. First, this capacity of working remotely it's a non mobility somehow, but it influences the mobility, because we can do a lot of things on internet from computer. So this is the first impact that smart cities will probably have on transportation, is that people will only move spatially in the city if they really need to do something. And so what we are thinking now is to make transportation more comfortable, more green, of course, in the sense of not having that much impact on the nature. Mm, So I don't know exactly how it will go. I think that people want more efficiency. When you speak about the future of transportation with no limits of imagination, the best wish you can do is like to change your place like that. You want to be somewhere, and puff, you are in the place where you want it to be. So this is exactly what we will probably tend to do. So it's a way to move faster with less, let's say, energy consumption. So personal energy consumption on the way. So maybe if you are in a transportation system where you will not get tired by the noise, you will not get annoyed, let's say, by the surrounding or the aggressiveness of some mechanics, etc. So you will just keep doing your living. Maybe you will keep reading your book, or you will be able to do some stuff like listening a podcast during your transportation. This is I think the thing that we are tending to do. It's the same idea for autonomous vehicles. The thing is, okay, if you drive a car, you have to focus on driving. But if you drive an autonomous car, you can just use this travel to make something else. And so you don't lose your time. Yeah.
No, and what's funny is just we're kind of already shifting a little bit. A lot more, homes are furnished. So we're
Mhm.
moving in, we're not moving, getting a moving truck and then the emissions from the moving truck and, packing all the stuff. So we're saving time already by,
Yeah.
moving into already furnished places. And I'm seeing that become more and more common, which that's really cool. And that's way easier, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so we are seeing the emergence of new kind of places, which in French we call them third places. I don't know if I can translate it like that, but so those places are not work and not home. It's something in between where you can spend time to socialize, to achieve some innovative goals, like to work on different projects, both alone because you have some features around, but also in collaborating with other people that are in the same place. And so, yeah, this emergence of new places which are not housing, not working spaces, is typically a good example of what co-living is, right? This is what you look when you are in a co-living space. You look for a place where you will have different kinds of rooms with different kinds of ambience and different kinds of features. So yeah, you can both relax and also be more effective in your goals achieving, or, yeah, professional projects as well.
Yes. So that's perfect. Leads to my last question for you. So I'll change it up a little bit. Where do you see smart cities? Where do you see cities and implementing this technology becoming smart cities in 10 years from now?
I see what I can imagine is that we will maybe be able to break this megalopolis tendency. So some years ago, 1 or 2 decades ago, it was a need to be in a very big city because everything was happening there. And so we went to the like draining the people from let's say medium-sized city in the profits of building bigger and bigger and bigger cities. And I think this kind of urban hubs should probably go to an end because it has too much pollution level. It has too much. Paris, for example, is a very beautiful city, but living in Paris is very hard because you have to spend so many time in transportation. You are always like surrounded by a lot of people. So somehow it brings you some social stress, let's say. And so yeah, I think that what the future of smart cities and the development of information and communication technology will result in strengthening the attractiveness of medium-sized cities. And so we will all be able to live in bigger spaces, in more comfortable real estate, with nature surroundings. So when you want to take a break during your day, you can go for a walk and you are in a big park or in a forest or something like that. And so I think that yeah, this development of internet and the connecting cities will result in the capacity of living in yeah, in a better, I mean, let's say in something more how to say, something that will be more comfortable somehow, less stressing, yeah, something like that.
Awesome. Well, that is a great point to end on. Really appreciate you coming on. It was fun to have like somebody that's researching so deep in smart cities. Come on, talk about it. So Julien, thank you so much for coming on this week.
Thank you very much. That was my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. And keep in mind, we are on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And also, if you are a co-living community, you can reach out to us to be listed on the Kindred platform. That's KNDRD.io. It's a great way to showcase pictures, videos, virtual tours of your community. Also, we have a link in the show notes for our 3 books on co-living. You can also find one of them on Amazon.com if you'd like the print version. And lastly, a very quick shout out to our partners over at ISL Furnishings. They bring light to your vision and already work with some of the larger companies like Star City and Quarters. See you guys next week.